السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. Bismillah, walhamdulillah, wassalatu wassalamu ala rasulillah. Welcome to the next episode in our series on the Prophet ﷺ. And today we'll be talking about two topics. One is how Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentions the Prophet ﷺ with him throughout the Quran in many different contexts. And then the second one is how Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala addresses the Prophet ﷺ in the Quran. And so the first one we see, this is a collection of some of the ayahs where the Prophet is mentioned together with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And so we see the first example from Surah Baqarah. فَأْذَنُوا بِحَرْبٍ مِّنَ اللَّهِ وَرَسُولِهِ. Yeah, it's an announcement of war, a declaration of war from Allah and His Messenger. And then the second one from Surah Nisa, وَمَنْ يُطِعِ اللَّهَ وَرَسُولَهُ. Whoever obeys Allah and the Messenger. And the very next ayah from Surah Nisa, وَمَنْ يَعْصِ اللَّهَ وَرَسُولَهُ. Whoever disobeys the Messenger, disobeys Allah and the Messenger, and His Messenger. And then again from Surah Nisa, muhajiran ila Allahi wa rasulihi, migrating to Allah and His Messenger. And then again from Surah Nisa, aminu billahi wa rasulihi, believe in Allah and His Messenger. And then from Surah Maida, alladhina yuharibuna Allah wa rasulahu, those who wage war against Allah and His Messenger. And then وَمَن يَتَوَلَّ اللَّهَ وَرَسُولَهُ, those who ally with Allah and His Messenger. And then from Surah Anfal, بِأَنَّهُمْ شَاقُوا اللَّهَ وَرَسُولَهُ, because they opposed Allah and His Messenger. And then from Surah Tawbah, بَرَاءَةٌ مِّنَ اللَّهِ وَرَسُولِهِ. So this disassociation and distancing from Allah and His Messenger. And then again from Surah Tawbah, مَا حَرَّمَ اللَّهُ وَرَسُولَهُ, that which Allah and His Messenger have made haram. And then the next few are also from Surah Tawbah, مَا آتَاهُمُ اللَّهُ وَرَسُولَهُ, that which Allah and His Messenger gave them. وَاللَّهُ وَرَسُولُهُ أَحَقُّ أَن يُرْضُوهُ. Allah and His Messenger are more worthy of their pleasure being sought. And then مَن يُحَادِدِ اللَّهَ وَرَسُولَهُ, one who opposed Allah and His Messenger. قُلْ أَبِاللَّهِ وَآيَاتِهِ وَرَسُولِهِ كُنْتُمْ تَسْتَهْزِئُونَ. Say, is it Allah, His ayat and His Messenger that you are mocking? And then from Surah Nur, وَإِذَا دُعُوا إِلَى اللَّهِ وَرَسُولِهِ, when they are called to Allah and His Messenger. From Surah Ahzab, مَا وَعَدَنَا اللَّهُ وَرَسُولُهُ وَصَدَقَ اللَّهُ وَرَسُولُهُ, that which Allah and His Messenger promised, and Allah and His Messenger were truthful. قَدَ اللَّهُ وَرَسُولُهُ, that which Allah and His Messenger have decreed and judged. إِنَّ الَّذِينَ يُؤْذُونَ اللَّهَ وَرَسُولُهُ, those who annoy Allah and His Messenger. And then from Surah Fat, from Surah Hujurat, sorry, لا تقدموا بين يدي الله ورسوله. Do not place yourself in front of Allah and His Messenger. And then from Surah Hashr, وَيَنْصُرُونَ اللَّهَ وَرَسُولَهُ, those who help Allah and His Messenger. And then from Surah Fat, إِنَّ الَّذِينَ يُبَايِعُونَكَ إِنَّمَا يُبَايِعُونَ اللَّهَ يَدُ اللَّهِ فَوْقَ أَيْدِيهِمْ. Indeed, those who pledge allegiance to you, O Muhammad, they are actually pledging allegiance to Allah. The hand of Allah is over their hands. And so we see the both the status and the role of the Prophet, his maqam, and how he is the messenger and the representative of Allah in the dunya. And so all these actions, like pledging allegiance, helping, like when you do those to the Prophet, it's you're doing it to both the Prophet and Allah. Similarly, like obeying and the converse as well. So when you disobey the Prophet, it's like disobeying Allah. When you wage war against the Prophet, it's like waging war against Allah. And so we see the importance of following the Prophet, and also the gravity of not following him, and the importance of respecting him as well. And we'll see more about that in the next section, which is going to be our obligations to the Prophet. And so the next topic is how Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala addresses the Prophet in the Quran. And so Imam As-Suyuti mentions this too in his book on the Fasais of the Prophet, that if we see throughout the Quran, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, there's different places where He addresses the different Anbiya, and we see them being addressed by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala saying Ya and then their name. So from Surah Maryam, Ya Yahya, Hudil Kitaba Bikuwa. And then from Surah Surah Hud, قال يا نوح إنه ليس من أهلك. And then from Surah Maryam, يا زكريا إنا نبشرك بغلام. from Surah Al Imran, إذ قال الله يا عيسى إني متوفيك ورافعك إلي. From Surah Baqarah, قال يا آدم أنبئهم بأسمائهم. And then from Surah Taha, وما أعجلك عن قومك يا موسى. And from Surah Safat, وناديناه أن يا إبراهيم. So we see these examples throughout the Quran, but there's nowhere in the Quran where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala addresses the Prophet as Ya Muhammad. And so we see throughout the Quran, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala either says Ya Yuhan Nabi or Ya Yuhan Rasul. So the first one from Surah Anfal, Ya Yuhan Nabiyu Hasbuka Allahu wa man ittabaka min al-mu'minin. From Surah Tawbah, Ya Yuhan Nabiyu Jahidil Kuffara wal Munafiqina waghluz alayhim. From Surah Ahzab, the first ayah, Ya Ayyuhan Nabiyyu ittaqillaha wa la tuti'il kafirina wal munafiqin. And again from Surah Ahzab, Ya Ayyuhan Nabiyyu inna arsalnaka shahidan wa mubashiran wa nadhira. And then from Surah Tahrim, Ya Ayyuhan Nabiyyu lima tuharrimu ma ahalla Allahu lak. And then the two places where Allah addresses the Prophet as Ya Ayyuhan Rasul are both from Surah Maida. Ya Ayyuhan Rasulu la yahzunka allatheena yusari'una fil kufr. And Ya Ayyuhan Rasulu balligh ma unzila ilayka min rabbik. And so we see Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala honoring the Prophet with this in the Quran, and also teaching us how we should not address him by his name, but rather by his title out of respect. And there are 4 places in the Quran where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala does mention the name of the Prophet, and in almost all of them, he links it back to the Prophet being the messenger of Allah. So the first one from Surah Al Imran, وَمَا مُحَمَّدٌ إِلَّا رَسُولٌ. So Muhammad is not but the messenger. And then the last ayah from Surah Fath, Muhammadun Rasulullah. Muhammad is the messenger of Allah. And then from Surah Ahzab, ما كان محمد أبا أحد من رجالكم ولكن رسول الله وخاتم النبيين. So Muhammad is not the father of any of your men, but he is the messenger of Allah and the seal of the prophets. And the last one is from Surah Muhammad, where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, وَالَّذِينَ آمَنُوا وَعَمِلُوا الصَّالِحَاتِ وَآمَنُوا بِمَا نُزِّلَ عَلَى مُحَمَّدٍ وَهُوَ الْحَقُّ مِنْ رَبِّهِمْ. So in this one is not tying the Prophet to being a messenger, but it does tie back to receiving the revelation. And so and again, the importance of these ayahs is that it is important to identify who the Prophet was, and so Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala does mention him by name, but we see that it's rare, and that throughout the Quran he addresses him as Ya Ayyuhan Nabi. And so inshallah, it shows us how both the status of the Prophet and how how much respect he is deserving of from us. سبحانك اللهم وبحمدك أشهد أن لا إله إلا أنت أستغفرك وأتوب إليك.